So there's an interesting, I guess, church maxim I've heard all of the time I've been a Christian, which is over 17 years now, which is something along the lines of, you can be angry at God, he's big enough to take it. If you're angry, just unleash it, let it go, get it all out and just put it all on him, and he'll just bear it, and whatever. Well, I want to, maybe unpopularly, but I want to disagree that this is okay. I've thought about it quite a lot. I've always said that it just in my private, personal interactions with people, that the last person we should ever be angry with or, angry at, really, is God. After all he's done for us, really, I just find it astonishing that people would think that's okay. Now, let me tell you why I think this, because obviously people are going to go, no, of course you can. It's so ingrained in the church that it's okay to do this. And it goes back to one of the devastating things I think Jesus said, as you know from the title. He said in the Garden of Gethsemane, when he was about to be crucified within 24 hours, handed over to the Romans, after, having a kangaroo court judgment from the Jewish Sanhedrin, spat on and punched and whatever else there, and people slapping him in the face, telling him, who hit you, prophesy to us, that kind of, the mocking. He had already prayed, if there's any other way to do this, Father, can we do it another way? But nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. So there's several things in that, isn't there, that I think is devastating. The first thing is, the Father has a separate will to the Son. The second thing is that the Son gives up what he would rather do in acquiescence to the Father, because the Father knows better, and he knows that, because the Father is his God. The Son of God has a God, right? And he will always acquiesce, in his human state especially, to the will of the Father, right? And he was always doing what he saw his Father doing, and nowhere more clearly, I think, is it that he doesn't want to do something and actually the Father wants to do it that way, and he has to go through it. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done, as he says. And he taught us to pray, didn't he? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name, your kingdom come and your will be done. So he wasn't just teaching that to us. He also would have prayed that. The disciples asked him, teach us how to pray. How do you pray? This is what I pray. Jesus kind of, I guess, insinuated that he was always asking for the will of the Father to be done. Now, going back to what I initially said about how, should we be angry with God ever? Well, if anyone had a right to be angry with God, it was Jesus Christ, right? I mean, he had done nothing wrong. There was no reason for him to be so brutally treated, mocked, scourged, whatever else, crucified in the end. Yet he trusted that the Father had a plan and that everything was going to work out for his good. And in Isaiah 53, it says that he'll look back at his work and he'll be satisfied with what happened. After everything, he'll know it was worth it because of those who did get saved by him through his amazing sacrifice, right? So, sure enough, it was the right thing to do, even though on the surface, I mean, the atheists, they always say it's divine child abuse. You know what I mean? How wicked is that? But I mean, you could look at it that way, in the sense that Jesus did nothing wrong. yet the Father's will was to bruise him, as it says in Isaiah 53 again, and that he would taste death. How does this relate again to what I was saying initially? Well, when we give ourselves license to be angry with God, there's a faithlessness to it, in my opinion. What we're saying is, I'm going to get really, really angry with you because what happened was not my will. How dare you? Basically, whatever happened, whether it's a loss of a child, something so terrible, dramatic, you lost all your family. Look what happened to Job. He literally lost 10 of his children. He lost all of his stock. His house fell down and he was blighted with boils all over his body in one day. And even his wife turned around and said, you should curse God. And Job's reaction was to get on the floor and worship. Even though he couldn't speak for a week from grief, his response wasn't a tantrum, which is what everybody seems to be saying we should be allowed to do before the Most High God, who is in charge of all things. And nothing happens without his jurisdiction, right? That's another thing we can glean from Job. Even though we don't understand it on this side of the grave, there's something going on that we're unaware of that is okay with the Lord, even though it doesn't seem okay to us. So whatever it is we're going to get upset about, kick and scream about, have a tantrum about in front of God, and I guess, relieve ourselves of that, I think on Judgment Day will come out very shallow. I don't think it's a damnable thing, necessarily anyway. But what I do think personally is that the last person any of us should be angry at is the Lord, who's done everything he can to save us sinners, us wicked people who deserve only damnation. And going around telling people that it's okay to be mad with God, like really angry with him, for me is not a good thing. Like, I've heard this time and time again. People have told me I can do it myself when I felt like things haven't gone my way, or, I haven't had the outcome I expected. Things have gone drastically wrong for no reason. I would much rather now encourage people to be a bit more like Job, and when the bad things happen, go, oh, well, the Lord gives, the Lord takes away. I'm going to kneel on the floor and worship him anyway. Because what's it really going to benefit you to get angry at God for, Why do we even believe we're in a position to be angry with him? Like, the last thing we should be doing is like being angry at the one who can damn us to hell, right? And so my encouragement to everybody is to rethink this strategy of telling people it's okay to be angry with God. You can just yell at him, scream at him, curse at him, whatever it is, it does about as much good as a child, like a 3-year-old child in a supermarket or something, having a tantrum on the floor and the parents are just looking on. That's about, what does it actually do except actually put off your parents from actually interacting with you whatsoever, right? I mean, I know when I've been in the presence of a tantruming child, I just evade the whole situation as fast as I can for a bit. Is that really my child? No, I'm just going to go over here, My mother did that with me once. Apparently I was doing it in Boots or something like that, and some lady came up to her and said, oh, the parents must be awful to let their child to be so, undisciplined and unruly. And I was there kicking and screaming, and my mother was like, quite agree. Yeah, terrible parenting. Yeah, Listen, I'm not saying that we don't get angry. I'm not saying that we can't. I'm not saying we can't be frustrated. I'm not saying that we can't, wish things go better, especially when the outcome we want doesn't come. But ultimately, being angry with God about that is literally futile, in my opinion. Futile, right? So why then give license to people to do something that's essentially anti-biblical, which is Don't let the sun go down on your anger, things like that. Be slow to anger, be quick to listen, and things like that. When things don't go our way, when things haven't happened like we wanted them to, when awful things happen, terrible things happen that you couldn't even imagine, the worst thing possible. The last person really, even though it's the first person they go to be angry generally, is God. I mean, he is ultimately in control of everything. You could argue it's his fault at some level. You can argue that. I'm not saying that's the way it is. He has the jurisdiction, the authority to allow it to happen for our benefit. So I guess you could be angry in that sense, but it's not going to help. It's not going to benefit anyone to actually do it. In fact, it might only increase your problems if you're really in Christ, because it's a faithless thing to do. It's not like, oh, I wonder why the Lord allowed this then. I wonder what good there is in it for me. It's, how dare you let this happen to me? I'm so not deserving of this, and look what you've done to me. How dare you? I'm going to get really angry. Blah, blah, blah. Look, it just, for me, it's the wrong attitude, wrong motive, wrong spirit. I don't think it ever comes from the Holy Spirit, personally. If someone disagrees, then, leave a comment or something. But can we just stop encouraging, especially the younger generation, to get angry with God? Like, there's enough anger in the world. I suffer from this spirit as well, and it is an evil spirit. Anger, especially when it's unrighteous. I know Jesus got angry in a righteous way, but I don't think the rest of us are quite in the position he was, and so it's always a dangerous thing, I think, to be angry in that particular way. So hopefully this has been an encouraging message, and also like a challenging one, like challenging in the sense that, can we please just stop doing that? Like, I don't want to encourage people to be angry with God. Like, he's amazing, he's awesome, he's beautiful, he's making everything, he's redeeming everything, he's always working behind the scenes for our good, the good of those who love him, right? Why then are we telling our children that we, it's okay to get angry at him? Like, what's it actually going to achieve other than faithlessness and doubt, right? Because ultimately, he's in control of everything, and there's nothing we can do about it. And so whatever happens is under his jurisdiction. You just got to put up with it and wonder why, and pray into it and accept it and carry on with your life, right? And work out what it is he wanted to test us on, and examine us over and see how we reacted to it, rather than purposely and malvoliently, like an evil God smiting his children. There's always this chastisement element, which is chastising he chastises those he calls sons, because he's trying to spiritually, I guess, refine us into people we are not currently, right? And so whatever we're chastised over is something we actually need to work on every time, right? So hopefully that's a beneficial thing for everybody to hear. God bless you.